yeah, you're going to want to be careful with this goal. First off, if you have this goal, if you've thought about maybe implementing the rule, you're not an idiot, you're not stupid, you're not being illogical. In fact, I would say it's a very good, solid goal. It makes sense when you're looking at numbers, when you're looking at the math straight out of a textbook. But that's all theoretical math. And what gets a little bit lost when it comes to the markets and trading is, well, that's all occurring in the real world, where some variables of the math are going to change things up and essentially work against you within the goal. And this is important and why I wanted to cover it, because I don't want you to think that you're not doing well as a trader or you're not, meeting your full potential because maybe you're not hitting these sorts of goals that you set for yourself. When in all actuality, you're doing fine. It's just that the math gets more difficult over time. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But the whole goal here that a lot of people have, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, is, there's nothing wrong with it in the sense of, it makes sense to have. But I want, let's just go with 5% per month. So, there's nothing greedy about that 5%. I like to try to grow my account 5% every single month. And you can, put in anything in regards to there. Obviously, the higher that percentage goes, the more difficult it becomes. But the way the math actually works out due to the market is going to make that very, very difficult. And I'm going to take extreme examples to really just show how the math becomes more and more difficult. So let's say your account is $1,000. I want to make 5% on that per month. Well, 5% on that is, you got to make $50, okay? So you got to make $50 with $1,000. That's not, I don't want to say it's easy to do, but it's very realistic to do given the overall context of the market. What do I mean by the market? Well, that's where our next big point comes in, because down below all these goals and the math is the market itself. And the thing you need to realize about the market is that it is limited. It's limited in volume, meaning there's only a certain amount of exchanging of shares, of exchanging of whatever you are trading occurring per day. Now, in the American markets, that is a very, very, very large amount. But it's still an amount where, depending on your strategy, it is going to influence things as the math progresses, and I'll get with that. But remember, keyword being limited. If this was infinite, then this math would totally work out and you could just keep going and going and going. But let's say you do this. So you take your, let's go with this color. You take your $1,000 and you grow it and you grow it and you grow it. And you keep getting $50, so you throw that in. And all of a sudden, this is at $10,000. Well, again, 5% on that is going to be $500. So you've made $500 on the $10,000. So still $10,000, but you want to keep going 5% per month, per month, per month. Well, let's just say eventually that gets up to $1 trillion. Again, like I said, I'm going to take this to extremes. To still aim to get 5% on 1 trillion, it's not going to happen. If you have to get those sorts of returns, it's just not going to be possible because the market is limited. And I realize you could be saying, well, Clay, I'm never going to have $1 trillion. You could do that with $1 million. You could do that with 10 million. Like I said, it really depends on your strategy. But if you think that you're going to have, 50 million, let me put it this way. If it were that easy, because you'd have a valid point saying, well, Clay, sure, the numbers that you need to generate keep getting bigger and bigger, but the amount you have keeps getting bigger and bigger. Fine, that's totally, totally valid. However, look at the hedge funds. Look at people that have billions of dollars of assets under management. And look at if they're getting 5% or 3% per month. Think about it. 3% for the year would be 36% yield. Hedge fund managers would murder their own mother in order to get those sorts of returns. And that's only 3% per month. But when you have those huge amounts of money, it just becomes more and more difficult to generate to generate, the corresponding profits because of the limited nature of the market. Same with, let's just say I could, change this up and say, you know what? I want to get 50% per month. Now, when you're working with $1,000, I mean, yeah, that would be, hey, I got $500, which is possible. If you trade certain things, that is possible. Now, it's a whole nother debate on, if you're building bad habits, doing that, because you're probably going all in on things. And so that, I'm not saying the habits being built aren't good, but let's just say that is possible to get 50% on $1,000. But hopefully you see that, okay, let's say you have $1 million. Really, you think you're going to get 50% on $1 million? You think you're going to be able to generate $500,000? It's not going to happen because the markets are limited and there's things that have to do with liquidity and stuff like that just make this more difficult. So just keep that in mind and keep this, that it's a decent goal to a point. And where that point is, it depends on your strategy, and there's lots of strategies out there. But just realize that at the end of the day, if your account is growing, if your losses, when you do have them, you will have them. There's no way around that. But as long as those losses aren't totally wiping away all of your gains. So in other words, as long as your account is doing something like this over time, then yeah, like I said, losses are going to happen. But as long as those lows keep getting higher and higher, that's what your goal should be. Not I want an X%, because that's going to start to deceive you after a while when you don't hit it. And it's not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong. It's just the way the math is working because of that limited nature of the market. So be very careful with that goal. Like I said, I would argue the best goal is just to build good habits. And as long as your account is growing over time and as long as losses aren't wiping away all of your gains, then hey, that's the goal what you should be focused on. If you are out there trading alone currently and maybe are in the market looking for a community to join to assist you in your trading or to just help you, give you another set of eyeballs, then I do have a private trading community where you can trade alongside me and other experienced traders. So what you see popping up on the screen right now is both an information link. So if you click on the inner circle one, that is going to take you to the page where I explain all the details of what exactly come with the community, both the chat room and the newsletter. And then the other image that has popped up is a behind the scenes tour where you can see exactly what is going to be contained within the community. I take you through, like I said, a behind the scenes tour of everything, and that way you'll know precisely what you are getting when you join. So definitely check that stuff out if you are interested and thinking about wanting to join a community, and let me know if you have any questions.